Hi, this is Randy Wykoff, the Dean of the College of Public Health at East Tennessee State University, and I'm pleased to provide this week's update on the COVID-19 pandemic worldwide for September 10th, 2020. As we've said before, the pandemic began somewhere in November in China and then started to spread around the world, relatively slow growing until early to mid-March when it started to explode. It's been growing ever since. This is deaths, total deaths were known worldwide. And as of today, 907,000 deaths, almost 1 million deaths, and 28 million confirmed cases. But as I say every week, this is a tremendous underestimate because there are so many places in the world that can't test and don't have reporting mechanisms. So consider this useful to follow week to week, but not particularly useful to get a real sense of how bad the pandemic is. So that's sort of the worldwide pattern. It's important to understand that there are patterns in different places, though. In South Africa, it's growing quite quickly. Countries like Brazil, where it's still growing, but perhaps slowing down a little bit. The U.S. is starting to level off. And then there are countries like Belgium, where it apparently has leveled off. And it's important that what we want to see is a progression towards this leveling off. And these are the 4 most impacted countries in Europe in terms of deaths per million. And you can see in Belgium, Spain, the United Kingdom, and Italy, we see the same pattern of leveling off after rapid growth. So another way to think about it is what's the percent growth week to week? In Belgium, it began back in April very, very fast, more than 100% growth every week. That means it's doubling the number of deaths. And then it's been coming down rather quickly and staying down such that over the last week, less than 0.5%, in fact, 0.1% growth. So this is what we want to see. This is what we would call a mature pandemic. Unfortunately, the worldwide, we're seeing it come down, but it's not quite at the same level. In fact, over the last week, it grew about 4%. And the reason for that is that there are these different pandemics evolving in different parts of the world. If you go back to January, you can see it started in China and then spread to Europe, then North America, and then South America, and then pretty much everywhere. By the end of April, it was pretty much everywhere in the world. And so if you look at the 20 most heavily impacted countries in the world, this was a couple of months ago in July, and we color-coded them. Remember, white is Europe, blue is North America, pink is South America, yellow is other. Then we'll do the same thing now. And these are deaths per million, so that's how impacted these countries are. We color code them again. Now we'll put them side by side. That was July, a little over 2 months ago. And this is September. And you can see some very serious changes. Peru, which wasn't even the top 10 before, is now the number 1 country, having well more than doubled. In fact, in July, 8 of the top 10 countries were in Europe. Now only 4 of the top 10 are. And back then, only 1 from South America, now 5. And you can see the U.S. has dropped a couple of places, but still is growing. And so the way to think about this is that the pandemic began in China. Then it became heavily, it hit Europe heavily. Then the Americas became the most commonplace, but now we're starting to see growth again in other parts of the world. So think about it just like ripples on a pond. A pandemic doesn't occur everywhere at once, but it is a worldwide pandemic. And while we're seeing movement towards being a mature pandemic, we're not at that point yet. We have to stay vigilant, stay organized, work together to try to control this global pandemic. There's a great deal more information about COVID-19 on the College of Public Health website. If you go and click on this icon, you can see weekly updates for the United States and for the Appalachian Highlands, as well as short videos on other topics like masks and social distancing. If you know anyone who'd like to be added to our mailing list, please contact Jan Stork at this email address or that phone number. As always, I'd like to thank Melissa White for updating this week's slides and Dara Young for editing, producing, and posting these videos. If you have any questions or would like to see me cover any topics, or if you have any comments, please let me know. I always look forward to hearing from you, and I'll do my very best to answer you. Let me tell you that I will be out of town the next week and may not be able to answer your emails during that time, but I'll do my very best to do that. I look forward to hearing from you. Thanks a lot.